The Great Startup Bay continues. 3 top strategies that you as a startup need to know. Hey, I'm Chris Zuiker with Media Options. We help companies to acquire their .com domain name for the lowest possible cost today. And we'll talk today about just 3 quick ideas, 3 quick strategies that every startup should know when they're trying to decide on their domain name, maybe their brand. They haven't decided on their brand yet. And the first one is pretty obvious if you follow me at all, and that is you need to own the .com for your brand. The .com would be the raw, unfiltered version of your brand. So in this case, if you're Nitro, you would be nitro.com. If you're Media Options, you'd be mediaoptions.com. And the reason why I talk about this quite at length in my blogs is that there's seven dimensions to a domain name. There's 7 ways that your domain name impacts your brand. And the first of that is global positioning. So it allows you to own the global positioning and voice and messaging for your brand in the marketplace. Now, if you think about this, there are in any given brand, there may be 3 or 4 or 5 different companies that call themselves the same thing. For instance, if you go to Nitro, there's several companies that call themselves Nitro, right? But only one owns the nitro.com. And what happens is that they own the premium positioning, the premier positioning for anything Nitro. I did a blog a while back and I talked about Kraken, how there's Kraken Crypto Exchange, there's Kraken Rum, and how Kraken actually started and launched before the Kraken Rum actually started and launched before Kraken Crypto Exchange. They put millions of dollars down on their advertising. I think it was like 13 million, maybe up to 20 million. Don't quote me there. I'll put a link in down below. But they put a lot of money into their marketing for their brand. And this little thing called crypto came along, and before you know it, Crypto Exchange now dominates search. They dominate the messaging. They have taken over the positioning for crypto. So that's global positioning. It's like be the only you. Now, if you own the .com, you own the global positioning. You own the leadership positioning for your brand. This brand, your brand name. And what happens is that if you launch on something else, it's a massive risk for your company. It's a massive risk because what happens, what would happen, and is a question I like to ask, is like, what would happen if another startup with more funding came in and acquired that .com? Like, what would you tell investors? What would you tell your customers? What would you tell your employees, right? So it's a big risk. Okay, so that's number 1. I'm going to go these really, really quick here. Industry positioning, there's branding, there's marketing, there is SEO, there is email security, there's the ability to pivot. So these are the 7 dimensions to a domain name, why you want to own the .com. So get that out of the way, okay. Let's say, point number 2 here on the 3 strategies, let's say the .com is taken and you have to, this is like the brand for you, it's who you want to call yourself. Now, in this case, what I would recommend you use your industry on the end. So I don't know what industry you're in, it's kind of, it goes for, depending on the industry, you may want to change, but in general, macro level, put the industry on the end of your brand. So, for instance, if you are Canopy, and Canopy's taken, and most likely never be available, you call yourself Canopy Tax. If you are Octane, and Octane is taken, then you want to call yourself OctaneLending.com. These are real examples, okay? Now, in the case of Nitro, I think they call this Nitro Software, then they went back. This is my 3rd reason or lesson strategy here on domain names, and that is don't use the word go, meet, try, use in your brand. And the reason why is that it makes you look like a perpetual startup. When you say use Loom, what happens is that you are, especially at the end, and your brand is afterwards, it brings to mind, okay, well, who's Loom, right? I mean, am I using this? If it's like try, something, then you're constantly thinking, okay, well, this is a perpetual startup. Okay, this brand, are they just getting out? Are they legitimate? Now, depending upon the industry that you're in, let's say you're in finance. Well, listen, you don't want to, it erodes trust. Maybe you're going to put you're going to link it to your bank account. Well, are they going to trust you? Now, an example here, Dave.com, that company, they bought Dave.com. They spent, I think it was $240,000 on that because they didn't want to look like a startup. They recognized that trust was very important for their brand, for their customers. And quite honestly, they want to continue to tell people, hey, we're try.com, not Dave.com. So I recommend, and I've seen a lot of businesses, I've seen a lot of companies, I would recommend stay away from using one of those words. Maybe go with more of a description in your domain name if the .com is not taken. But if the .com is available, highly recommend you do whatever you can to acquire that. Real quick, there's financing that you can do to acquire that. There's owner financing you can do. There's lease options you can do. I mean, we've done a lot of it at Media Options. We're approaching, I think, over $150 million now when this video goes live here. So we've done a lot of business. We've helped a lot of companies acquire their perfect domain name, their power domain name, their marketing campaign domain names that just protect their brand.